start there, Colin, is because you will see shows, and even in the early days, right after lockdown, there was like a few novelty shows of like, well, what if we got ChatGPT to like start this improv show, and then we'll go and do a show off the back of this ChatGPT prompt. Now it just all feels a little ugly. How do you feel about AI coming for improv?
Yeah, I believe, well, I don't believe in people. I I do believe humanity has a place in improv, let's say, more than yeah, I just find it, well, of course, more organic, like literally. But I don't know, they're all, it just seems AI tries too hard.
Mm.
I have I have put in some stuff into AI just to see where they've gotten on the humor input of
Hmm.
can chat be funny.
Mm.
I will say at this point, no. I
But
think right now I will say.
here's the thing, Asad, and I want to know what your opinion is on this as well. In terms of, is does it have a tool? Is there a place in it? Because I sort of feel even if it does start getting good, like initially when they were doing images and the images were embarrassingly bad, and now they're actually getting pretty good. It's like, well, I don't. It doesn't even matter if it's good now. It's almost more scary that it is good because now it's really going to be compelling for people to go, well, let's just use that instead of humans. Asad, what's your relationship with that world?
Well, I just did a seminar called "Creativity is Not a Luxury," and that was
Mm.
and it was all about how, as humans, the way that we're going to differentiate ourselves in the future is around creativity. And as technology changes and AI happens, and people lose their jobs, the way that we as human beings can differentiate ourselves is through our ability to create.
I think we're going to see a lot of shows that are like marketed as this is AI free, this is handmade, and people are like, oh, a human, only humans were involved in the making of this project, which I think is lovely. Let's dive into what we're here to discuss today, and I want this conversation to go wherever we need it to. I always love an open-ended conversation. Let's start with your relationship with hypnosis, Aside. How does this come into your life? When did you learn about hypnosis? And this is a thing that I want to pursue.
Yeah, I studied the martial arts for a long time. So meditation and visualization and self-hypnosis, they're all pretty much interrelated. When I was in my first year of university, one of my good friends went away to Hawaii over spring break. There he was sunburned very badly, and he was traveling with his father and his father's friend. He used hypnosis in his dental practice for painless dentistry. So this
Was
dentist
that a
hypnotized.
budgeting thing or something? Is is is
Definitely.
is having an
Yeah,
anesthetist an expensive thing?
exactly. Less on the budget line.
If I went
Better.
to the dentist, they're like, "Hey, do you mind if we hypnotize you instead of numbing this with an injection?" I would be concerned, but it works, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It works for painless dentistry, painless
Wow.
surgery, do hand surgeries with hypnosis is the only anesthetic. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Wow. And so so this was a compelling thing for you to go, "Oh, I want to get involved." You said self-hypnosis? That you can hypnotize yourself?
Yeah, you can hypnotize yourself. So vis-a-vis breathing patterns, you can slow down your breathing pattern. And so there's like the the fight or flight response. Everybody pretty much knows what it is. It's
Hmm.
marked by a dump of adrenaline, norepinephrine into the bloodstream. You're ready to fight something off or flee from something. The exact opposite, the flip side of the coin, is the relaxation response, which is they call it rest and digest. So when somebody's hypnotized, there's stimulation of parasympathetic functioning of the nervous system. So you get this really relaxed state wherein you get a decrease in blood pressure, decrease in heart rate, your body feels good, you can digest your food, you're no longer stressed.
I think all of us need a little bit of this. Colin, you're about to take a flight to down under, as we call it, and I will lean into my Australian accent today, so you
I
feel
know you
like you
just got stronger in the middle of this.
and Australians will emphasize their accent more when they are overseas, just so people go, "Yeah, I'm Australian. Here's what an Australian person sounds like." But you'll hear a variety of accents as you tour around. Maybe how do you go with long haul flights, Colin? Would self hypnosis work well for you to just be chill, or are you someone that takes a pill?
No, I'm pretty good. I mean, I've been to Australia before, and Africa, some long flights. And for me, it's just that's my time to catch up on movies. So I usually stay up during the flight. Then we usually arrive in the morning. So I try to stay up during the day and then probably have an earlier night. But I was much younger last time I went to Australia. So we'll
Yeah,
see how it goes this time.
yeah, tell us about your relationship with Australia. What do you have a does it have a certain do you have a certain opinion of it in your mind, a certain vibe?
I just like I really enjoyed it. It was Brad Sherwood and I. We went to Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, and Perth.
Oh, I can tell
Uh,
you've been to Australia because you don't say Melbourne. Oh,
exactly. Uh, and I loved each of those places, and they were all incredibly different. I mean, the only common thing were the audiences were great. They were just people who wanted to have a good time. And they come to our show, they're not going to learn anything. They're not going to leave any smarter, but I
we
think they'll leave healthier because
we
they'll
want
have
this
some
on the
life.
record that we will not, you people will not learn anything. Even though that I have seen feedback for your show that people have, especially people with anxiety, have said it was like the one of the best times of their life was just this feeling of being totally unrestrained. Is it the right understanding, Assad?
Yeah, the part of the brain that deals with self-reflection becomes disconnected when somebody's hypnotized. So they no longer reflect on their behavior. They just carry out my suggestions without hesitation, without question, which makes for really good improv. Like first time improvisers, they'll play to the crowd, they'll look nervous. These people, and they use filler words. You hear them hesitate, with ahs and ums. It doesn't really happen with the people who are hypnotized. They just jump in the scene and they fully commit. It's pretty impressive to watch.
And have you been to Australia before, or is this your first time?
No, never been to Melbourne.
Do you have is there any stereotypes that we need to sort of resolve today? The people riding kangaroos to work, that sort of thing. What is your
No,
expectation?
I mean,
Because
Everything there can kill you, right?
oh man, this
For the
is the big one
kangaroos
that
as well.
I was in Chicago in 2019. I did the intensive at IO, and that was always the funny thing from Americans going, "Oh, I would never go to Australia. Everything can kill you over there." It's like we don't have bears, we don't have guns, we don't have lions, and like mountain lions. Like really, it's a pretty limited amount of things that we have. Crocodiles. You guys have alligators. I don't know. I think there's been a whole propaganda campaign, or maybe sort of like a hey, let's have less people come to Australia campaign of this everything can kill you idea. How do you feel about spiders, Asad? Are you okay with spiders?
doesn't scare me. I have to tell you, I worked on cruise ships for a long time and lots of Aussies on board. They're fun-loving people. Love the Aussies. It's a
Well,
good time.
I mean, a hypnotist on a cruise ship. Did you do solo shows as a hypnotist?
I did before we ended up doing Hyprov together. I was pretty much a regular for Carnival and Celebrity and Disney Cruise Line.
How did you
And
find that lifestyle? My wife was doing a 3 month stint last year. She's an actor, and I visited the ship for a couple of weeks, and that was about all I could really handle. How did you find the cruise ship lifestyle?
we were guest entertainers, so we flew in and did our gig and then flew out. So like we weren't really spending time like 3 months, 6 months. I think that would
Mhm.
be pretty exhausting. But we just flew in, did the gig, left. It was great. It's wonderful weather. I don't know. I have no complaints.
Yeah, it's not bad if you're just touching down rather than the people that are staffed on the ship for months and maybe years at a time. Let's talk origin stories of improv because I'd love to hear about how both of you came to improv. Colin, who were you before improv came into your life?
I was a young child back in the last century before you were around.
I'm picturing
I was
sepia tones or what?
black and white. I was in high school. My plan was to become a marine biologist.
Okay.
So I was heavily into sciences. I was very shy. I was a bit of a bookworm. I was an honor student. And then a friend dared me to try out for the school play. So I did. Then I got my first laugh, and that was it.
And what was the
Everything else,
play?
excuse me, it was a play called The Death and Life of Sneaky Fitch. It was a musical western.
It
I don't
sounds
think it was
good.
ever performed outside of 1975 in high schools.
It sounds like a prompt that you would get on Who's Line, though. And you go, you know
Yes.
what? I got this.
So it,
Was the laugh in the script, or was the laugh
it
something that
was.
you? Yeah. Okay.
It
Okay.
And then I discovered I had a thing for, I'd always been a big fan for comedy. Grew up watching all, whether silent comedians or whoever. And then I went into theater, and then I was introduced to improv because it wasn't a thing when I was
Hmm.
growing up. Um, there was a comedian called Jonathan Winters, and he was sort of the first improviser that I knew of. He was on uh, chat shows in the 50s and 60s, and they would give him an object, and he would just go off in wild and wonderful directions. And then I got involved with theater sports, and then that was it. And I thought, oh, this is a fun weekend thing to do. I never thought, oh, this will be my career. It was just getting together with friends, having some laughs, and
And were
then
there any like parental forces in at that time going like, what about your study? Like you're going to be, what about the fish? What about the whales?
yes, my mother. My father was do whatever makes you happy. And my mother, even heading up to Who's Line, she would be sending me matchbook covers that say, "So you want to be a lawyer?" It was like, no, no, and she's finally accepted it. But yeah, it's a very hard thing to say. Hey, I'm going to be an improviser, and they go, "What's that?" Yeah, I know it doesn't exist right now, but I got a good feeling about this.
And I mean, with the advent of AI and I mean technology, there's always going to be kids going, "I'm going to be this." I mean, I think that the influencer was probably the last 10 years of people going, "I'm going to be this," and parents going, "Is that like a thing?" I think so many kids want to be an influencer, and it sort of turns my stomach a little bit. Asad, tell me about how improv came into your life.
Yeah, I was trying to get better at my craft doing my solo show, and I was taking improv courses at the Second City, and that was kind of the genesis of Hyprov because the instructors would often say, "Get out of your head, you're too much in your head," and they were addressing the newbies when they were learning improv. And I thought, wait a second, I think I get what they're doing here with all these exercises. They're engaging the conscious mind kind of through a drill and kill exercises, getting them to really almost confusing them to the point that they were getting unconscious comedy. They were getting knee-jerk reactions. That's what they wanted. So
Hmm.
then I thought, wait a second, is it possible to hypnotize somebody who has no improv experience and then turn them into a great improviser? And the answer has been a resounding yes. And then is it possible, of course, to raise the bar further and bring in the world's greatest improviser?
And failing that,
Great.
you've got Colin as well.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
so Colin. Tough crowd here.
Hell, I'm not coming to Melbourne or
I'm teasing. Oh, Colin, I've been the biggest fan for the longest time. My relationship with you was Whose Line was on afternoon TV, and it was one of those things that it was just the absolute dream to come home because, like, whatever was on would be rotating, and they go, "Oh, they've put Whose Line on again," or sometimes as well it'd be like it on in the middle of the night, it'd be on at the randomest times, but it was always an absolute treat when it would come on. Like it's a absolute delight to so I do have to call myself this is that thing in comedy is so often I'm gonna go straight for the rose and they go but also big fan. Asad,
absolutely.
I want to just clarify too because you clearly have a very intense brain and you clearly are seeing things from so many different angles and the martial arts of it all. And for the listener, there are these beautiful little paintings behind you as well that seem to have some significance. They look something straight out of a martial arts movie. You seem like if because I teach improv, I'm an improviser. If I had you in my class, I would be watching you to go, this guy's watching everyone and absorbing all the information in the room like Neo in the second Matrix movie has just leveled up, sort of thing. Are you able to get out of your head, or are you observing everything in the room and all the ones and zeros and matrix code at the same time? How's your relationship with being as present as possible?
You know, we were performing at the National Arts Center, there's 2,000 people in the audience. And because we've done now 300 shows, I really don't get nervous at all. The first show that I did with Colin, yeah, I felt it for sure. I was performing with an improv legend. But 300 shows in, not so much. And then, but I felt it that one night at the National Arts Center. And then I remembered my training, and the training goes that if you feel self-conscious or any anxiety, you're too focused on yourself.
Hmm.
Focus on the other people in the room. So I intently focused on the people who I was hypnotizing, and the anxiety just dropped away.
Yeah, interesting. But what about you in that first improv class? What was that moment like? Because you're coming almost on a fact-finding mission. You're coming also with an agenda of I want to apply this to my show that I'm doing on the cruise ships, my solo work. How were you to be able to like free yourself and go, all right, I'm going to absorb what's being fed to me rather than because I'm the same. Like I am often agenda based as well. Like how can I apply these skills and give them value into my life? How was that first improv class for you?
I was terrible like everybody else. And I found that with those drill and kill exercises, with that zip, zap, zop, all these exercises that would just get you out of your head. One angle would, one theory is that when you are doing something unconsciously, you're in a trance. So it's like they talk about in hypnosis, and these are just models, okay? So I don't want
Mm.
to get into 8 emails from the hypnotists that are watching this, okay? This is just a model, okay? A model of trance. So like there's a downtime trance where somebody's relaxed and they look like they're asleep, and then there's an uptime trance when they're doing something and they're not consciously constructing it. So and that's kind of what's happening when people are really improvising at a high level. Like when
Hmm.
I'm looking at Colin, when he comes out on stage, he's tranced out because he's in an uptime trance. And I this is just theoretical, okay,
Hmm.
again. So a theory would be that, I was talking to Paul Merton, who's a fantastic, legendary improviser in the UK. And he would say, oftentimes we don't remember coming off of the performance. We don't remember it. And my guess would be that they're slipping so deeply in trance that they're getting some sort of amnesic effect.
Oh
So
wow.
that they yeah, because in somnambulism, the definition of somnambulism would be you can create positive hallucinations, negative hallucinations, and amnesia on anything. So, like a positive hallucination would be imagine that there's a cat on the table. On the count of three, they'll see the cat. A negative hallucination is the table's not there. Amnesia on anything is forget your name, forget your phone number. But like when you're in this deeply tranced out state, my guess is that after they come out of it, after they finish the improv, they come out of it and they don't have that access because they're not in that state anymore. Almost like state dependent learning.
No, I mean, no,
Yeah,
it makes
yes.
sense because I perform alongside my wife, and I'll go, oh, what about this in the show? And what about that? And she go, I don't remember any of it. And sometimes like, really, none of it? Just like, no, I'm just in it, which is also totally lovely. Colin, did you take to improv like a duck to water, or did you have that initial, oh my God, this first class? Was it classes that you did? Did you go straight into shows? What was those first moments like? Were you like immediately built for improv, or did you find there was a little bit of an adjustment period?
Nope, I did one class. I was fantastic.
World's greatest.
I took one class and it was just for me. It was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. And then from that class that night, I was in a rookie match of theater sports. And that was at a time when they would give out MVP awards. And then I was MVP for the rookie one. And they needed someone for the second, for the veteran. And I joined in and got MVP then. And I thought, hey,
Oh wow.
I'm going to do this. And so, and then, you have your next show that is not quite MVP. What happened? So, but it's never been anything less than a learning experience. There's never been a point where, as I walk on stage, going, "All right, I know what's going to happen tonight. Relax, let the laughs hit."
What
Every
what it
night, it's
what is your like? Do you have a do you do a warm up? And especially because like you're in an ensemble where it's 20 audience members that are volunteers who are then are hypnotized. Colin, you don't have an ensemble to warm up with backstage. What's the warm up process?
I don't warm up. My warm up is, and I think it really just pisses off Assad because he's like, he does all his stuff, his vocal warm ups, and I play word games against our musical director.
I'm assuming that Assad's in the lotus position, hovering 1 foot off the ground.
Yeah, that's it. Um, My my warm up is to be as relaxed as possible so that when I walk out on stage, I have absolutely nothing except what's about to happen. And I can walk on stage in front of 2,000 people with nothing, feeling more in charge than I if I walked into a room of family members about to give a birthday toast.
Mm-mm.
That's but there's something about that. And also I'm with, Asad, who I trust, our musical director, John Hilson, who's amazing. So we have a really good core group, Sarah, our producer. So I know everyone has everyone's back and everyone is on the same wavelength. And it's just basically to have fun.
You've done this show so many times, Colin. When it first came into your world, what was that first discussion like when this was pitched to you?
Well, of course it sounds insane. I'm not an idiot. And again, we call this a tour. Yes, it's real tour because people have always thought when we were doing Who's Line, people just assumed it was all written, even
Mm.
though I said, yeah, why don't you just transcribe that scene and then read it, see if it makes any sense. And it's the same with hypnotism. And I think with both forms, there's just a lot of misinformation, a lot of hypnosis information we got from movies and television, which weren't always close to the area of truth. And what happened, people expect these people to be turned into zombies or something, and it's just they become so relaxed and so not, their fear factor is gone. So
Hmm.
they're there to react to everything Assad and I say. So, I mean, the first night, because we couldn't rehearse, so I, and it was one of those questions I should have asked them, of course, when we first started. But as we're about to go on, I said, "Hey, if I ask them to do this, will they do it?" And he goes, "I don't know. It really depends on the subject, because some are so deeply in, and then some, like throughout the show, some of them are going in and out. And Assad is, got his eye on them, making sure that they're going deeper and deeper.
Hmm.
And we found ways to, when I look at the first show we did to what we're doing now, it's like Pong to Mario Kart. It's just two totally different shows.
Tell me as well. Did you start? Was it immediate? Like this is going to be a tour, or was it like a low key trial show where you were just trialing the concept aside? Did we immediately go into the big picture, or did we start with just what if we just tried this out?
So we tested it out, and Jeff Andrews, Colin's longtime manager, comes running backstage and says, "I think we have a new art form here."
Oh
He
wow.
also had dollar signs in his eyes.
Yeah, I'm picturing a cigar hanging out of his mouth. You got it, kid, sort of vibes.
So he's pretty jacked. We
Mm.
ended up developing it at the Second City. So we were doing it at the John Candy Theater. So it was in the training center. So people would come out of their classes. We'd say, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this new show? We want to test out some new material."
And were you
And
asking, or were you hypnotizing these people into saying yes?
they'll never know. So we bring them into this room and be like, "Hey, do you want so we'd hypnotize them. We'd work the material, see if it worked. If it didn't work, we get rid of it. We continue to rework material and see what games would work and what games didn't work." And that was kind of what we did for a few months. And we workshopped it at the Second City. So after the main stage show, we'd go up, test out new material, see if it worked, didn't work, did work, and we just kept on doing that. And then eventually we got to a point where we're like, okay, we'll take it on tour. So we went to Just for Laughs in 2016, sold it out, went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, kicked butt there, we got brought back in 2017. And then from there, just, the rest is history. We've been off
Wow.
Broadway, New York Times reviewed it, and, Wall Street Journal, Time Out, New York, Forbes,
It's so impressive.
Vegas.
So just give us a taste of like, yeah, as you referred to, like you were trying these games, like just give me a sliver of the show. What would a moment from the show look like? They come, you get the 20 volunteers, you hypnotize them, and then what? What does the show look like from there?
So I think the crescendo of the show, which is amazing, is Colin is an old-time radio play detective and Dick Danger, and then one of the volunteers it does all the different sound effects that Colin has to incorporate then into the show, and then the other hypnotized volunteer plays all the different characters Colin comes into contact with while solving the case. Because there's always one superstar, right? One
Hmm.
standout that kind of is a star in the show. And it's amazing. You know, they're keeping up with Colin, giving them incredible offers, changing and morphing their voices and their physiology to show different character types. You know, whether he might come into contact with a femme fatale, maybe a chief of police, depending on the night, right? So there's some structure, but it's all improvised, and it's amazing. You know, these people have never improvised. Can you imagine
Well,
if
tell
you
me
brought
about
up
this part, the never improvised part. Do you ever get a sneaky person? Say I come to the Melbourne
yeah,
show
yeah,
in
you
St
get
Kilda and
ringers.
go, oh, I want a chance to improvise with Colin. Oh, I've never done this before. Do you have to sniff out these people who are
Well,
like so keen?
the amazing part is that even the improvised. Colin, why don't you, you know what? You usually tell the story. Colin,
I'll
can
tell
you
the
jump in?
story. So
Thanks.
when we were doing off Broadway, we were there was an improv theater that we knew the owner, and he invited us to come and try out new games. So great. And so when Assad brings up the 20 people, he gets it down to five because, and this is me after years. I can watch now and go, okay, they're faking, they're faking. They really want to be hypnotized. It's not going to happen. They're gone, they're gone, they're gone. And it's every night, it's amazing. Every night I watch and go, this can't be a show. And it happens. So we do this show, it goes well. Our star that night is this young woman. She knocks it out of the park. So afterwards, a friend of hers comes up and goes, she's an improviser. I went, oh, because we do try to, discourage. And then she
Hmm.
said, she has never improvised like that. There was no hesitation.
Wow.
I've never seen any of those characters. Has never been that quick-witted. And then I realized, yeah, just because you're an improviser, it doesn't mean you're good. You can't help. And we had a writer, a playwright who said that was great. I've been so stuck on writing something, and all the ideas just kept flowing out. So they were hoping to go from that, remember that experience, and try to keep it going because they
Yeah, I
do
love
remember
that.
the whole thing.
Right, they haven't lost. Colin, have you been brave enough to go under? Have you been hypnotized by Assad?
I have.
How was the experience?
I killed three people, but
But they had it
that,
coming.
that
He's
is not true.
joking, of course.
The
Uh,
hypnosis didn't work well enough. He remembers too much.
Yeah, right.
yes, one of the things I despise most is writing. And I have all these ideas, but I never get past like the first act of anything because either I lose interest or I just don't devote myself the time. So I said, Assad, hypnotize me, help me write something and give me the impetus. So he did. And I ended up writing something in like a month.
Oh wow! And was it any good?
Okay, I wasn't specific. That was the problem.
It's also such a
But
cruel question as well. It's like it is. Hey, it was a monumental thing that I wrote anything, and was it good? Man, that's a much.
no, but what was great was it was a start. So I finished, that would be my first draft. And then from there, I would hopefully make it better.
Because writing is
I have,
improvising and just having to do it with a pen or a keyboard. I get it because I'm the same and it's the mind over matter. That could be a whole side hustle. Is just getting people that are struggling to with writer's block to get over their different things. Do you encounter this in your day-to-day life aside? It's like people that are just sort of nudging you to go, help me quit smoking, help me write, help me this, help me that.
Yeah, I still work with clients in the area of peak performance, mostly a lot of athletes. But yeah, I've had people come in with writer's block, and I've had people come in and talk to me about different areas that they'd like to improve in their life. And yeah, I help them.
Hypnotist, help thyself. What Assad, tell us about areas that you wish you could be helped with, or are you a perfect specimen?
I do it pretty much every morning. I do self-hypnosis, and it's so Mike Mandel is one of my mentors. He's been a friend and a mentor for many years, and he was a pretty well-known, famous stage hypnotist. And he had some products. He has some products around peak performance, and I pretty much every morning I listen to it,
What's
and
the
I
difference
find that
between self hypnosis and meditation?
pretty similar. Self-hypnosis, I mean, if you were to look at EEG patterns, you'd probably guess that they're similar. I mean, again, models, theoretical. That being said, with self-hypnosis, you've got like a specific outcome that you want. Meditation may not be related to a specific outcome. Might be
Hmm.
just touch with your higher self. It might be just be relaxing a bit. Like, it really depends. But usually for self-hypnosis, you're doing it for one or two or three specific reasons, right?
Right,
So
rather than just disappearing. Asad, I realize fair is fair. How was it? Did you have parental figures in your life that you had to tell? I'm thinking about pursuing hypnosis as a career. What was that moment like?
pretty good. So my father is a retired cardiologist, and he used it in his practice. So he would hypnotize his patients, and when he was doing catheters, he would find that it's like a minimally invasive procedure. He,
Minimally, it's
he
a tube being put up the pee hole. I think it's pretty invasive.
I don't think
Am I
that's
allowed to say pee hole? Colin's faces.
nice. I make a mistake.
Well, catheters, I suppose, can go in all sorts of
Not that kind
places.
of
Yeah.
catheter, though. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, they would
I'm just glad to
anyway,
make Colin giggle. I want the audience to know.
This is Australia.
risk it. Anyway, regardless, he found that it would relax them prior to the procedure. They tolerate the procedure better. So when I said, "Hey, I want to do hypnosis," he didn't. I obviously didn't pitch stage hypnosis off the top. I talked about more on the clinical hypnotherapy side, and I saw people for smoking cessation, weight loss, and stress management, all that stuff. And I still again see a select number of clients in those
So
areas.
hypnosis ran in the family.
Well, it's interesting. My mother is a fifth degree black belt in karate, and she taught a lot of meditation. So, yeah,
Wow, yeah, this is like the start of one of those movies where like some terrorists come in and they mess with the wrong family. It's this family of martial artists and hypnotists and I think okay, we'll book in another call. I got a movie to pitch.
there you go. Right.
Colin, tell me how Whose Line comes into your life because it's remarkable. Once again, this whole idea, and at the Comedy Writers Group, we're always fascinated about anyone making any money from the world of comedy. And I know, as you say, the career of improviser, it didn't exist when you were a kid, but nor does it really exist now because you've got to teach on the side. You've got to be very, very creative with how that actually is bringing in money. It's very rarely coming from shows. So, what was that moment like when you started to go, oh, I might like for this to generate some sort of money? How does money start coming into your life via improv, and when does Whose Line come in?
Okay, so I at Vancouver Theatre Sports, um, we started. It was a co-op, so we would get paid for every show that we did.
Oh, wow, so
And
rare.
yeah, we started, and then we started doing more shows. And we got paid more. Then we started doing productions. We did an improvised Hamlet. We did an improvised murder mystery show called Suspect that was incredibly popular. And so I was making a fairly good living with that. And then Expo 86 happened in Vancouver. So I think I was doing 13 shows there. So, and because of I was getting a reputation in improv, I started to get noticed by the theater companies in town. And other, I was actually part of an Oscar-nominated short called Rainbow War. So
Oh,
that would
wow.
have been
I didn't know
80.
that.
Yeah, it was like me, Ryan. Ryan is, it's like opposing armies. There's a red one, a blue one, and at the end they all come together to make the rainbow. But we're all in all the armies. So you'll see Ryan fighting himself. It's really, and it's
So
great.
This
It's
is Ryan Stiles was in this as well.
Ryan style.
Mm.
Yeah. And there's no sound, which is the best way to watch him. And so after Expo, I moved to Toronto and I started with Second City. And when I was at Second City, the Whose Line people came through and
Because
they were doing
it was a
some,
British show at that time already, right?
it was a British show. And it was still, this is what they told me, that it was because improv was still a fairly new art form. They were looking for more experienced people. So they did a North American tour. I auditioned, didn't get it. Then my wife and I had moved to California because she had a show she had developed. It was being produced. They came through again. They hired me. My relationship with Whose Line is so based on good luck and
Mm.
having friends at the right place. So I do my first show with Whose Line. I suck. It's just bad.
What was it? You were in your head too much, I
I
wonder?
totally psyched myself out. I
Mm.
thought, yes, we speak the same language, but will they get my references? And so the things that they hired me for, I didn't do. I was tentative. I wasn't jumping. So didn't happen. So the
And
next
that could
year,
have been the moment. That could have been the make or break. But before you go on, I want to just mention because it was such a strange cosmic thing. My friend Zoe, who puts on a revolving roster, Zoe and Jet, they put on a revolving roster of shows every Wednesday, goofy alt comedy nights. Last night they did a kind of a tongue-in-cheek tribute to Whose Line, where they just went, we're just going to do a tribute to Whose Line and play Whose Line games, and I did that show. And I was hugging that wall in games like Scenes from a Hat. Those ones where you're like, be funny now. I go, nah, I'm a long form guy. I totally understand that thing where you're suddenly in your head. So what happens next?
so they decide because at that point it was on Comedy Central in America, and it was really popular with all the college students. They were the only people kind of watching it. So they decided they would shoot some episodes in New York. At that point, Ryan was on the show, and Ryan and I had improvised for years. And he said, I think you should give Colin another chance. So they did, and they paired me with Ryan. And the British improvisers had the same experience I had in England, where they were sort of tentative. I was with Ryan. I was relaxed. I was in sort of home turf, and so it went great. So they brought me back the next year, but every year it felt like I was auditioning. So they would
Hmm.
say, "We're giving you one show," and I would end up doing all the shows. Then they bring me back, "We're giving you three shows." I'd end up doing all the shows, and it wasn't until my last season in Britain that they said, "You're doing all the shows."
Because then there was the British version. I'm trying to track it in my mind. British version, then the American version, and then like a rebooted version. It's been one of those things that's just been around for the longest time.
With the last British one was 98, I think 98, and it was like 3 weeks later we did the American one. And then
Yeah,
the
wow.
American one, then it was canceled, though no one told us it was canceled. But after about 4 years, I thought, you know what? I don't, I think we've been canceled.
What do you
And
mean
then
no one told you it'd been canceled? You were still just doing the show?
no one said it's not happening anymore.
Uh-huh.
They just ignored us, which was kind of what they did with the show all through its history. And then Brad Sherwood and I had been touring for years, and we noticed our audience was getting younger, which doesn't happen. And it was because of the internet. These kids who weren't born during the Drew Carey years were catching up on the show. So because of that, they brought it to the CW with a young host, a young host and all the old guys. So
Hmm.
that was good. Um, yeah, and I thank goodness for that show because it gave me a career.
Yeah, it absolutely rules. Asad, were you? I mean, how old are you, Asad? When did you come across Who's Line? Were you watching Colin in your younger years?
No, I'm actually 50. So
Hides it well.
I wasn't watching Colin at the time, but because of,
I
well,
imagine that you were too busy on like a cliffside, like staring out into a vista and achieving inner peace or something.
that's right. Yeah, I ended up, obviously seeing clips and, loving the show later on. And I did see a lot of stuff on the net. And, through Second City too, got reintroduced to Whose Line. And, obviously was a big fan. And that's
This
why I
guy's going to
reached
be at top of my list when I do Hyprov in the future. Yeah, there was this moment in the conversation where because I was chuffed about because I wanted this to happen because you guys have done so much press for this tour and you've been touring for so long. I'm dying for moments where Asad will say, "Oh, I didn't know that," like because you guys must be spending so much time together, but also I'm sure balancing your time together too, because I know in a limited scope, life on the road and how much company you're in with your fellow performers is pretty important to go. Let's balance this. how do you guys go about like keeping it nice, keeping it civil, keeping it fun, keeping it surprising? Do you have a nice approach to the time you spend in your hotel room, the time that's social, the time like the your wind down time? Tell us about the relationship behind the scenes on the road to keep it to be a manageable thing that's run for so many years.
Well, I think the main thing is three of us are Canadian. We only have one American. So everything is calm, fine. Even the American is very close to being a Canadian. He's from Minnesota. I mean, Assad and Sarah, our producer, are married. So there's that. But we usually have dinner together. But then during the days, everybody has their own thing. And every once in a while, you'll send a text out, "Hey, I'm going to the museum or something. You guys want to come along?" But it's pretty chill, and I think everybody gets along. It's a really really nice group, and everybody kind of. I don't know if you know this, but I'm quite old now, so they really take care of me. Like they'll lift my stuff and make sure I don't fall down. So it really is a nice environment. Everyone's really looking after each other, and we're trying to um, make it the best experience. Because it's sometimes there's like two flights and then a 3-hour drive somewhere, and then
Yeah, massive.
yeah. So I think somehow we kind of meditate in a way. Assad immediately falls asleep in the car. That's what he does.
It's called self-hypnosis, Colin, is what it is. Okay.
Everyone gets along really well. It's really chill, and the show is
What's
you
the
know
what's the
it,
wind down after the show like, Colin? Do you still have that buzz that from those early days? Do you still have to have that moment to go, oh wow, that was so fun? And is it just as fun as it always was?
I'd say yes. I mean, the difference is when we're first improvising, and you go to a restaurant afterwards and you talk about what you did. Remember this? And then, no, I don't remember that well. And it's just like, hey, it's basically that was a good show. We make sandwiches, you have a drink, and then everyone kind of goes down, comes down in their own way. I mean, I usually watch a little, either a hockey game or some sort of thing. John, our musician, is like a nerd in every sense of the word, so he's probably D'ing something. And
D&D or something.
I'm sure Assad and Sarah have their own sort of decompress after the night because they're also they do most of the business stuff too. So
Mhm.
they have that to deal with.
Everyone's got their job to do. It's not that sort of the college days, the university days. We're like, all right, let's stay out until the wee hours of the morning. No, the jobs continue. Aside, tell me about because the audience, the so many of the performers are from the audience. What's their decompression? Is there how do you set them free afterwards? What's that process? Do they get a chance to wind down and have a chat afterwards?
It's really interesting. We ended up shooting a special in Canada, and we sold that special to the CBC here in Canada. And then we ended up doing interviews of the people who are on stage. And it was really interesting to hear it was a really in-depth interviews with these people. And they all said the experience was very freeing and fantastic. Like it was just, yeah, they think that, I mean, and also the other thing is that people go in and out of these trance states all the time. So it's not like they're seeing stars and there's music playing and stuff. Like when they're hypnotized, it's a very normal, natural state, right? You go
Hmm.
in and out of trance states regularly. Like daydreaming is an example. Another example is getting caught up in a movie so much so that you're moved to emotional response. Like you watch a tearjerker and you cry, or you watch a scary movie and you jump in your chair. Like you are in that moment in time, really, really horrified or really, really scared, or in that moment in time, you are so caught up that you're crying. But after you leave the movie theater, you're all good. Same with these people.
So it's a round of applause for the guests and we'll never see them again. Is that how it works? We are ships in the night.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean, social media.
Hmm.
Assad will post some stuff, and then they'll sort of respond to it like, "Oh, that's me. That was the most wonderful night of my life."
No, that's like,
we,
but it is a
we get
brief and
accused of
sweet
using
rendezvous.
plants. We get
Yeah.
accused of using plants, by the way,
Uh-huh.
and we never Yeah, when I say plans, we prearranged something with these individuals beforehand, and we've scripted the show, right? So they oftentimes that's the commentary online. And we've never met any of these people before. We don't know any of them, and quite literally, we do the show, and it's a new group of people. We don't even know what's going to
And
happen,
and
basically.
it's the hypnotists and magicians. They have to say that as soon as they meet this person that we've never met before in our lives, have we? And they go, no, we haven't. And then we all believe that. Yeah, it surprises me what audiences assume has been made up. Like I do stand up and people and I'll talk about being a teacher and people go, oh, so are you really a teacher? I'm like, what a boring thing to invent for jokes. Or did you know that person from the audience? Like once again, how boring that I've gone ahead and asked this person to say a silly thing in the audience. It's too much work to think how much of this has been invented. We're coming to
The other
the
thing,
yeah. Please go ahead.
the last thing I was going to say, Marcel, is we've got our Instagram, which is at Hyprov, and if you look through the years and years of video that we have, I mean, I would challenge you to find a duplicate as far as the individual that you see. They're all new people. They're all different
Mhm.
people. Not met any of these people.
Although it does sound like a fun challenge to maybe go through these different
Go through it.
videos and see if there's someone.
Try to find somebody that see a duplicate, see a repeat. Doesn't happen.
My
You never met anyone.
thing always is who's paying these people? Because it's not us. Like we're splitting our fee with like 20 randos? No.
It's on Craigslist or our version of Craigslist in Australia, Gumtree, and you're just asking for volunteers. And I do realize, as I say, how like the Australian version's called Gumtree. Of course it is. You probably could have
Of
just
course.
guessed that. Colin, as we round out our time together, and I really appreciate you making the time. I mean, you said it yourself. You're like, oh, I'm old now, but you're also a man of ambition, as you say. You're wanting to write, and you've been wanting to write for the longest time. What is in the list of ambitions? What are those things that keep you excited about creativity and being involved in the art scene?
Um, like I'm really fortunate being in the improv world that people are always trying out different. Like I was part of a D&D long form improv. I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, so all I did was I kept trying to fly, and the dungeon where you can't fly, jump a foot. But things like that where I like being thrown into situations where I'm really out of my depth, and all I have are the people I'm working with. I've also, but I have to write this. I want to do an action movie where I'm the action star
Hell
because,
yeah.
yeah, you have your usual guys and it's going to be fine. But with me, you have no guarantees that I'm even going to make it, like getting out of my car.
I love
So,
this. It's one of my
yeah,
favorite genres, Colin. Once again, my favorite genre is of action movie. They mess with the wrong guy, as we've alluded to with this family of hypnotists and martial artists that started writing in my head during this call. But
catheters and the terrorist.
and but the big one is like I mean with like Bob Odenkirk doing his movie Nobody and
But
Nobody
yeah,
2 is those movies where it's like oh they're a little grizzled, they've lived a life. So what do you think you'd be, Colin? Maybe like ex special forces sort of thing, just trying to settle down.
drama teacher,
So wait, ex drama teacher? Wait, so you're a drama teacher
ex-drama
now?
teacher,
Were
but in
you
a
ever
rough
trained in the
neighborhood.
special forces? Were you like what do you think your training
No,
would have
I've
been?
seen movies. I've seen, it seems you can pick it up from, Rambo or something. Doesn't look that hard.
And people also love stunt casting. If you got the gang back together and we saw some familiar faces from Who's Line, they're all living together at this place, and then of course terrorists come in for some reason. Now this is a movie, and I mean I'd be disappointed if you sent me a message saying, "Hey Marcel, you need to cut that part out of the episode because it's in
Oh, good.
development now."
Also, there's a show called Murdoch Mysteries,
Canadian show.
Canadian show, and it's worldwide. And on its 13th season, I sent out a tweet saying, "Hey, congratulations! Am I the only Canadian actor who has not been on this show?" And like 2 days later, they hired me, and now I'm sort of a semi-regular. I'm a serial killer,
Oh,
and
great.
unlike anything that I usually get cast for, and it's always a lot of fun. I kill a
Mm.
lot. It's
We
pretty
love
cool.
we love a comedian like John Lithgow in Dexter. We love a
Dexter.
comedian or someone who's anyone that's been funny before. Suddenly, the serial killer suddenly is so much creepier. Yeah, yeah, that's great casting. I got to look this up. That sounds great. So, as someone who's so you've created this beast of hip prov. What's the dream? World domination. You've got you've filmed this before. What's and so tell yeah, what's in your ambition column?
Yeah, I think that continuing to grow this incredible brand that Colin and I started together is something that I'm looking forward to doing. We've now had 11 improvisers in when Colin's unavailable to do the show. We've had Mindy Sterling from the Austin Powers franchise. We've had Jonathan Mangum from Let's Make a Deal in Whose Line. We've had Jeff Hiller from Somebody Somewhere. So we've had all of these incredible improvisers come in and do the show. So I think the next step is really, to be able to do this format internationally.
Yeah, that's so exciting. So this show is going all around Australia and it's also going to New Zealand as well, and all in a very short amount of time. Brisbane on the 16th has sold out. You've added a late show on the 16th, then to Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra, over to Auckland, and then to my hometown of Adelaide, where I grew up. I live in Melbourne now, but I have a lot of affection for Adelaide, and then to Perth, and then later in the year, Niagara Falls. But you got a bit of a break in between this. But it's just nice to see it all laid out. I'm so excited to see the show. I really appreciate your time. And Asad, you were saying that people can track down all the information on the Instagram?
If you go to hyprov.com, that's hyprov.com, and you'll see all the information there, or Google Colin Mochrie hypnosis show, and you'll get it too.
Oh man, Colin, Asad, thank you so much for your time. Once again, Colin, just wanted to say such a huge fan, and I couldn't help but roast you just a little bit. But and Asad,
Here.
thank you, and yes, thank you so much for sharing your time. I really, really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, and look forward to catching up in Australia.
Yeah, come up
Thank
back and say hi after the show.
Would adore such a thing. Would absolutely adore it. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll sign off, and I'll see you. I'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Take
Marcel.
care.